Good evening. This is Pamela, and you're listening to Watchmen on the Pod. We're going to begin our new book today by Charles Chiniquy. This book is entitled The Priest, the Woman, and the Confessional. It was published by Chick Publishing. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Chick tracts. They've been around for many years. Foreword here is from Dr. Alberto Riviera. He is an ex-Jesuit priest. And before I even begin to read, as you know already, I do not pre-read these books. I read them in real time along with you. So this is the first time I've read it, as this is the first time many of you have ever heard it. I do not know what we're in for. But I do know from reading Charles Chiniquy's other book, 50 Years in the Church of Rome, that it will be some ugly things that's happened to women in the confessional. Let it be known right now, I do not take any kind of enjoyment whatsoever from the verbal rape, molestation these women have encountered in the confessional. But what I do pray for is the joy of knowing that those the Lord leads to hear this book will realize and understand things that they endured in the confessionals against God. God condemned it. And that He is more than willing to forgive you, to embrace you as your holy, loving Father when you look to Jesus for salvation, no other. Okay, let's begin. Forward. Throughout history, God has called men and women such as Savonarola, John Huss, Martin Luther, Catherine von Bora, Chiniquy, Sister Charlotte, and many others out of the Roman system. Even today, Roman Catholics are finding the living Christ. They have one thing in common, a hunger to really know God and the truth of the Bible. When the light of God's truth hits them, they know they must do what the Bible demands. Come out of her, my people. Revelation 18:4 and 5. The Roman Catholic system or its policies, dogmas, will never change. The activities Chiniquy describes in this book are still going on. Without knowledge, people perish. May this book open your eyes and see the difference between religion and true Christianity. Yours for the salvation of the Roman Catholic people, Dr. Alberto Riviera, ex-Jesuit priest. Biographical. Who is Chiniquy? Important original documents establishing the high character and standing of Pastor Chiniquy when in the Church of Rome. Mr. Chiniquy is one of the most conspicuous champions of Protestantism of the present day. He was invited to Scotland by her leading ecclesiastics to take part in the terracentenary of the Reformation, and to England in latter years, when all her leading Protestants stood forth to honor the Emperor William of Germany and Prince Bismarck for their noble resistance to papal pretensions to authority in Germany. He then, in 1874, addressed the great gathering in Exeter Hall, over which Lord Russell presided, and afterwards for 6 months lectured throughout England on the invitation of ministers of every evangelical denomination. Of such a man with such a history of struggles, services, and success, the Protestants all over the world need not be ashamed. During the last 2 years, he has lectured and preached to crowded houses in Australia, receiving from the clergy and people of that country many testimonials of their esteem and regard for his valuable services in the cause of Protestantism. It is well known that Father Chiniquy rose into general notoriety in Canada as an apostle of temperance. But long before this, when a parish priest and even when a student, he was held in high repute. The sketch of his early life is as follows. Born at Kamarowska, Canada, July 30th, 1809. His father's name, Charles Chiniquy. His mother's, Renee Perrault, both natives of Quebec. His father died in 1821, his mother in 1830. After his father's death, a rich uncle by name Amiable Dion, a member of the Upper House of Parliament in Canada, who had married his mother's sister, took him in charge and sent him to the College of St. Nicolette, with which he was connected from 1822 to 1833, attaining high honors as a linguist and mathematician. His moral conduct got him the name among his fellow students of St. Louis Gonzague de Nicolet. He was ordained a priest in 1833 in the Cathedral of Quebec by Bishop Sinay and began his ministry at St. Charles on the River Berger, Canada. After this, he was chaplain to the Marine Hospital and there studied under Dr. Douglas the effects of alcohol on the human system. He became convinced that it was poisonous and its general use criminal. He wrote to Father Matthew of Ireland and soon after started the temperance crusade among the Roman Catholics of Canada. He began at Beauport, where he was parish priest. There were then seven taverns or hotels, but no schools. In 2 years he had 7 schools and not a single tavern in the parish. A temperance column was erected in that town to commemorate his achievements in this good work. He was soon transferred to the larger parish of Kamarowska. He shortly gave up his parish duties and transferred his headquarters to Montreal to devote his whole time to the cause of temperance from 1846 to 1851. As the result, all the distilleries were closed except 2 in the whole province. These noble efforts were publicly acknowledged. We refer to 4 distinct acts of recognition among many. The first is the address of the Independent Order of Rechabites of Canada, dated Montreal, 31st August 1848, with Mr. Chiniquy's reply. It is credible to the Protestants of Lower Canada that they so honor a priest of the Church of Rome when doing a noble work for the general good of the country. Both documents are worthy of the cause. Instead of taking glory to himself for this success, Mr. Chiniquy uses these words in the course of his reply. Persuaded that this success is solely the work of God. To him be all glory. The great city of Montreal was moved to gratitude, and a gold medal was presented to him in the name of the city, with these words on one side, Father Chiniquy, Apostle of Temperance, Canada, and on the other side, honor to his virtue, zeal, and patriotism. The Canada Parliament moved also in his honor and voted to him an address and £500 as a public token of the gratitude of a whole people. The fame of his labors in the cause of temperance reached the Pope, and through an aspiring priest who visited Rome about that period, the Pope's blessing was sent to Mr. Chiniquy, as testified by the following letter. The translations are verbatim, no freedom being taken to render them into more idiomatic English. Translation, Rome, 10th August 1850. Sir and very dear friend, it is only Monday the 12th that has been given me to have a private audience with the Sovereign Pontiff. I have taken the opportunity to present to him your book with your letter, which he has received. I do not say with that goodness which is so eminently characteristic, with all special marks of satisfaction of appropriation, while charging me to state to you that he accords his apostolic benediction to you, to the holy work of temperance which you preach. I esteem myself happy to have had offered on your behalf to Vicar of Jesus Christ a book which, after it had done so much good to my countrymen, has been able to draw from his venerable mouth such solemn words of appropriation of the Temperance Society, and of blessing on those who are its apostles. It is also for my heart a very sweet pleasure to transmit them to you, your friend, Charles P. Bolingergon or something like that, priest. Following this, we give the general circular furnished to him by the Bishop of Montreal, in which he is designated Apostle of Temperance. Translation: Ignatius Bourget. The divine mercy and grace of the Holy Apostolic See, Bishop of Montreal, to all who would inspect present letter, we make known and testify that the Venerable Charles Chiniquy, Apostle of Temperance, priest of our diocese, is very well known to us, and regard him as proved to lead a praiseworthy life and one agreeable to his ecclesiastical profession. Through the tender mercies of our God, under no ecclesiastical censures, at least which have come to our knowledge, by which he might be restricted, we entreat each and all archbishops, bishops, and other dignitaries of the church to whom it may happen that he may go, they, for the love of Christ, entertain him kindly and courteously, and as often as they may be asked by him, permit him to celebrate the holy sacrifice of the Mass and exercise other ecclesiastical privileges and works of piety. We showing ourselves ready for similar and greater things, in confidence of which we have ordered the present general letter to be prepared under our sign and seal, and with the subscription of the secretary of our episcopate at Montreal, in our palace of the Blessed James, in the year 1850, on the 6th day of the month of June. Ignatius, Bishop of Montreal. By order of the most illustrious and most reverend Bishop of Montreal, D.D. Wow. Secretary Keenan. His high position was now universally acknowledged, and he was chosen by the dignitaries of the Church of Rome to lead a new and important movement. It was to take possession of the valley of the Mississippi and form a new Roman Catholic colony in the very center of the United States. The Roman Catholic Bishop of Chicago, Bishop Vandervolt, came to Canada to confer with him on the subject. The proposal was to transfer thousands of French Canadians, zealous Roman Catholics, to this new territory, and Father Chiniquy was to conduct the enterprise and be the new champion of Rome. He accepted the offer. He went and surveyed the land, selected the territory, and returning to Canada, took over to the new colony a first batch of 5,000 immigrants, all zealous for the church in this new movement. Before finally taking up his quarters in St. Anne, Kentucky, state of Illinois, the seat of the chosen colony, he requested his official dismission from the Diocese of Montreal, with which he had been connected for the 5 previous years. We give the answer in full to show his standing when he left Canada for his new field. Translation: Montreal, 13th October, 1851. Sir, you ask me the permission to leave the diocese to go to offer your services to the Monsignor of Chicago. As you belong to the Diocese of Quebec, I believe that it appertains to Monsignor the Archbishop to give you and execute what you ask. For me, I cannot but thank you for your labors among us, and I wish you to return the most abundant blessings of heaven. You shall ever be in my remembrance and in my heart, and I hope the divine providence will permit at a future time to testify to you all the gratitude I feel within me. Meanwhile, I remain, dear sir, your very humble and obedient servant, Ignatius, Bishop of Montreal. Mr. Chiniquy, priest. Thus, he left Canada in the highest repute with the hierarchy of Rome. But a few years passed when the colony had expanded to the occupation of 40 square miles, and thousands were still pouring in, not only from Canada, but from the Roman Catholic population of Europe. In an evil day for Rome, Bishop Vandervolt was removed, and an Irish Bishop, O'Regan, took his place and at once began to obstruct and oppress the French settlers. Here we state to Americans what is well known in Canada, that the French and Irish Roman Catholics seldom agree. There are violent feuds between them. The evidence, oppression, and injustice of the Irish Bishop O'Regan drove Father Chiniquy into resistance and to appeals to the outside Roman Catholic world for redress and deliverance from oppression. It came even to the Pope, and he sent Cardinal Bidini to Chicago to investigate dispute. He declared O'Regan to be in the wrong, and he was removed, and Bishop Smith of Iowa took O'Regan's place. While this storm was raging, God was opening the eyes of Father Chiniquy more and more to the real apostasy of the modern papal church from the original Christian Church of Rome. The hour of his deliverance was approaching, and God had chosen the field for the first. Hold on 1 minute, brothers and sisters. I am so sorry, but let's see. Okay. Sorry. Okay, here we go. The hour of his deliverance was approaching, and God had chosen the field for the first encounter under the liberty of the stars and stripes of the Republic of America. Anywhere else he would likely be crushed to earth. But here he found freedom and a noble hearted advocate when fiercely prosecuted in the person of honest Abraham Lincoln, afterwards America's greatest president since the days of Washington. To show that up to the time of his severance from Rome, he bore the highest character. The following letter from Bishop Bolingbroke of so late a date as 9th May 1856, 5 years after he left Canada, amply proves. Translation: Archbishop of Quebec, 9th May 1856. Miss, I send you for Mr. Chiniquy an ornament with necessary linen from which to make a cassock and a chalice, whole indifferently packed, as I suppose you will find a place for all in your trunk. And I pray God to bless you and conduct you happily in your journey. Your devoted servant, C. J. Bishop of Tola, to Miss Caroline Comer of the Covenant of the Ursulines of Three Rivers. The bishop sends by a nun of the Ursuline Convent of Three Rivers a present to Mr. Chiniquy, consisting of a chasuble, or the embroidered garment with a cross on the back and a pillar in the front, worn by priests, materials to make a cassock, and a chalice to perform mass, as proofs of his highest confidence and esteem. Well would it be for the honor of the Church of Rome if she had many priests like him in the ranks of her clergy. We now give the declaration of Bishop O'Regan respecting Mr. Chiniquy's character, as sworn to by the 4 Roman Catholics whose names are appended. This written reply was given by Bishop O'Regan on the 27th August 1856 to the deputation who waited on him. This has been published all over Canada in French and English, in reply to a certain accusation of Vicar General Bayer. First, I suspended Mr. Chiniquy on the 19th of this month. Second, if Mr. Chiniquy has said Mass since, as you say, he is irregular, and the Pope alone can restore him in his ecclesiastical and sacerdotal function. Third, I take him away from St. Anne despite his prayers and yours, because he has not been willing to live in peace and in friendship with Reverend M.L. and M.L., although I admit they were 2 bad priests whom I have been forced to expel from my diocese. Fourth, my second reason for taking Mr. Chiniquy away from St. Anne to send him to his new mission south of Illinois is to stop the lawsuit Mr. Spink has instituted against him, though I cannot warrant that the lawsuit will be stopped for that. Fifth, Mr. Chiniquy is one of the best priests of my diocese. I do not want to deprive myself of his services, and no accusations against the morals of that gentleman have been proved before me. Sixth, Mr. Chiniquy has demanded an inquest to prove his innocence of certain accusations made against him, and he has asked me the names of his accusers to confound them, and I have refused it to him. Seventh, tell Mr. Chiniquy to come and meet me to prepare himself for his new mission, and I will give him the letters he needs to go and labor there. Then we withdrew and presented the 4 letter to Father Chiniquy, and that is from Francis Bacard, J.B. Limon, Basquil Eller, Leon Melox. Nothing more can be wanted to establish the moral reputation of Mr. Chiniquy so long as he remained in the Church of Rome. Declaration to His Lordship Bourget, Bishop of Montreal. Sir, Since God has, in his infinite mercy, been pleased to show us the errors of Rome and has given us strength to abandon them to follow Christ, we deem it our duty to say a word on the abominations of the confessional. You well know that these abominations are of such a nature that it is impossible for a woman to speak of them without a blush. How is it that among civilized Christian men one has so far forgotten the rule of common decency as to force women to reveal to unmarried men, under the pains of eternal damnation, their most secret thoughts, their most sinful desires, and their most private actions? How, unless there be a brazen mask on your priest's face, dare they go out into the world having heard the tales of misery which cannot but defile the hearer, and which the woman cannot relate without having laid aside modesty and all sense of shame? The harm would not be so great should the Church allow no one but the woman to accuse herself. What shall we say of the abominable questions that are put to them, and which must answer? Here the laws of common decency strictly forbid us to enter into detail. Suffice it to say, were husbands cognizant of 1/10, cognizant of 1/10 of what is going on between the confessor and their wives, they would rather see them dead than degraded to such a decree. As for us, daughters and wives of Montreal, who have known by experience the filth of the confessional, we cannot sufficiently bless God for having shown us the error of our ways in teaching us that it is not at the feet of a man as weak and as sinful as ourselves, but at the feet of Christ alone, that we must seek salvation. Julian Herbert, J. Roken, French Joyce Beringer, Marie Rogers, Louis Picard, Eugene Martin, and 43 others. Wow. Preface, Ezekiel, chapter 13. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord fell upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins even downward, fire, and from his loins even upward, as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. And he put forth the form of an hand, and took me by a lock of mine head. And the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and heaven, and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thine eyes now the way toward the north. So I lifted up mine eyes the way toward the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do? Even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary. Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court. When I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beast, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall round about. Wow. And there stood before them 70 men, the ancients of the house of Israel, and in the midst of them stood Bazaniah, son of Shaphan, and every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the chambers of his imaginary? For they say, The Lord sees us not, the Lord hath forsaken the earth. He said unto me also, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abomination. They do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. And said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, and they worshipped the sun toward the east. And he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? They have filled the land with violence, and they returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore will I also deal in fury. Mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. Though they cry in mine ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. All right, brothers and sisters, next time we will pick up in chapter 1. And that is the beginning of the priest, the woman, and the confessional. Charles Chiniquy. Keep your eyes on Jesus, brothers and sisters, please. And your nose in the book, which is the Word of God. And embed the Word of God on the tablets of your hearts, so you will not sin against God or be deceived. Take this before the Lord in prayer. Please ask Him for discernment and understanding. I love you all.